Welcome to Your Funeral Coach Talks, a bi-monthly podcast hosted by Lisa Baue, founder of Your Funeral Coach, a consulting and mentoring company serving the funeral, cremation, and cemetery profession. Listen in today to the Elevating Women in Funeral Service series as she interviews thought leaders and difference makers in her profession.
Hello, listeners. I'm here today with Erin Creger of Envision Strategic Partners, as well as Death Care Collective. And Erin is here as part of Women's History Month. And we're going to, actually, Death Care Collective and Erin are making history in funeral service today. So we're super excited to have you. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm just honored and excited to be here, especially for Women's History Month. As you said that, I just got chills. Thinking of all the women that have come before and all the incredible women such as yourself that have paved the way for many of us. So I'm just honored. Thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. And we're just thrilled to have you because we haven't had a chance to interview you yet. You're a busy lady. Every time we try to get together, every now and then you're like going someplace across the world. So tell us, I want to tell people a little bit more about you. So I'm going to read a short ditty on your bio, but I really want you to tell me kind of why you are where you are today. So you're the Chief Sales Officer and Partner of Envision Strategic Partners. And this is a pre-need marketing company out of Salt Lake City, Utah, right?
Correct. That's correct.
And you joined the funeral service. Yeah. You joined the funeral service profession back when?
Yeah. Almost. It's 10 years now, which is crazy to think about.
That's cool. It says you joined because of an experience you had with your grandmother. Tell us about that.
I would love to. So growing up, I actually was born in California, but I grew up back east. I moved around a lot as a kid, and we had an opportunity to move back to Salt Lake City. We hadn't been to Salt Lake, but my grandmother had joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and she and my mother were a bit estranged growing up, so I wasn't very close with my grandmother until we moved to Salt Lake. I was 14 years old, and she quickly just became my best friend. We were very close. I feel like we were sort of making up for lost time.
That's neat.
And she was a lovely woman, but she had pre-planned with a local funeral home here in Salt Lake City, Larkin Mortuary, and
love Larkin's,
gal
great
had
place.
Yes, they do a beautiful job. And she said, "This is the call, Lisa. This is how it went." It sounds so bizarre, but I get a call about 7 or 8 in the morning, which isn't uncommon. "Hey, I need you to come by later today." Also not uncommon. I always loved going to visit with her. She said, "I woke up in the middle of the night and I know what you're supposed to do with the rest of your life." That was a phone call I got from my grandmother.
She had a premonition.
She did.
About you.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
So I said,
that's goosebumps for me.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
Yes. So she proceeded to tell me about this lovely meeting she had with a gal from the funeral home, helping her just get all of her arrangements in order. Her husband had passed away, and they had had conversations about his arrangements, but there were still some things left undone with hers. So she just was crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's, and said, "I met with this gal, and I just think you'd be really good at this." So that's where it started.
How old were you?
I was 32 years old when that conversation happened.
32. So you had been in a different profession before that, and then
Yes.
you moved over to funeral service with the Larkins, I understand.
That's correct. Yes. So I was actually in home improvement, of all things, in my 20s and had an incredible career, some really wonderful sales mentors. I started out selling and loved it. I became a trainer and a regional manager, but things changed at that company. They were bought out. I had a decision to stay or not stay. Shortly after that, I also got a divorce and just found myself in a really difficult spot in my life. And as many people who go through divorce, you're grieving the loss of that life. I financially was broke.
You are.
I had to borrow money from my parents to put down on a townhome. And I got my mortgage license. I did that for a minute. I did real estate for a quick minute, but my heart wasn't in it. And when my grandmother called me, it was obviously, as you can see, a life-changing conversation and the start of a really exciting new journey for me.
That's so wonderful. I know I met you when I visited Larkins some time ago. We did some tours back there, and you were I think, part of the team that was there hanging out with us. And it was just, what a wonderful place. I met all the Larkin guys and through the years, gotten to be really good friends with them. And one of the Larkins is over at Envision Strategic Partners. Is that not right?
That's
He's
correct.
one of the founders. Is that correct?
Yes.
Guy named Spencer?
Yep.
Yeah.
Spencer Larkin. He was my boss. He's one of the guys who hired me, and he's now my business partner.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So it's you, Spencer, and
West Folger.
You have a couple
is
other partners, right?
Yes, there's three
Wes.
of us. So West Folger is actually, so the rest of the story with my grandmother, I said, okay, well, tell me more about this gal that you met with that you really loved. And so she gave me the card, and I called this lady and I said, I don't know how to start this conversation, but you sold a pre-plan to my grandmother on her funeral, and she's thrilled, and thank you. But apparently she thinks I should be doing what you do, and I don't even know what that is. So would you be willing to sit down with me? And I mean, Lisa, I had attended 2 funerals in my life. A lot of people come into this because they had a very close experience with loss. I was not one of those necessarily.
Sure.
But I didn't even know there was an insurance component. I didn't know the difference between a vault and a casket. I mean, I knew nothing. So I sit down with her, and she says, okay, well, here's the deal. You seem lovely, and I'm sure you'd be very good, and I'm going to give you my boss's information. But Erin, just please don't bug him too much, because I sent a guy to him not long ago, and it did not go well, and the guy won't leave him alone, and we're not even hiring here at Larkin. So that was my lead.
Oh.
So I said,
So a guy paved the path
yes,
for you
exactly.
to fail. I love it.
Yes. So
Well,
I said,
that'll
just give me his
get you
number.
going, won't it?
I'll take it from here. And I called and left a message. Of course, he didn't call back. I called again. He still didn't call back. And so I finally, I did have, just being really vulnerable here, I had taken another job at a propane company, and it paid really well. I should have loved it. It should have been the best opportunity. And I just hated it. It was just not me. It wasn't what I wanted. There was just no part of me. And at the time, I had started dating my boyfriend, who's now my husband, and he knew I was having a hard day. And he came over to my townhouse that I had borrowed the money from my parents to live in, thankfully. And
Sure.
he had brought me flowers, which was very sweet. He soon realized this was more than a flower type of a breakdown. I was not in a good place. I was just uncontrollable. I was so sad. I just felt broken. And he said, okay. And he sat down with me on the floor, and he said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to work for Larkin. I want to sell. I want to help these older people. I want to help people pre-plan. And I don't know how to do it. And he said, then this is some tough love. In the kindest way, he said, then get up, take a shower, get dressed, and go down and meet this guy, whatever you need to do. And that's exactly what I did. So I got dressed, I got together, and the lady who gave me the card of her boss was Tacey Vogel, who we'll get to, is now one of the co-founders of the Death Care Collective with me, a dear friend. And I went down to her boss's office, and I literally showed up with my resume. He wasn't there, but within an hour I got a call, and he said, well, I guess you're not leaving me alone. When can you come in for an interview? So he finally called me back, and that was an interview with, that was West Folger, who finally called me back, and Spencer Larkin, and I got to meet with both of them, and they hired me, and I started at the beginning and have loved every minute of it.
That's awesome. And you were there. You were an award-winning sales leader for over 20 years there, right? And those years of direct selling and team building helped you prepare for what you're doing now. And I know you're very grateful for that opportunity. And of course, things change as life goes on. And so I think you earned, what did I see? The Homesteaders Rookie of the Year award in your very first year, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And maintained $1 million producer along with multiple awards for your sales efforts over the next 3 years. So you must have felt like you were in the right seat of the bus and you were home.
Yes, that's a beautiful way to put it. I felt like I was at home. The Larkin organization was just incredible. Everyone embraced me, from, the receptionist and telling me all the ins and outs and who's to the sales team, to the, of course, Spencer and everything he did and the ownership there. And then, of course, West was really my mentor on the sales side with pre-need. And then starting with homesteaders, we had an account executive, Steve Brody, and then his boss, Greg Nora. So I've just had a lot of support there. But my real love is helping others and training others. And West saw that pretty quickly. I love all the accolades. It's really fun to be on stage, but I get so much more pride. We actually just got back from our leaders conference trip in Mexico, and we had 6 or 7 people that were able to get those awards that you had a hand in. And to me, that's just that's everything.
That feeds you when you're able to support others and watch them succeed, right? And you just lift them up, which is really what it's all about. That's
absolutely
so wonderful. What a great story. Well, tell us just a little about Envision Strategic Partners for just a short minute or two, and how they started and kind of what they do, so everybody can understand.
Yes, I would love to. So as Larkin was going along, West had started with Larkin a few years before me, and Spencer was very closely involved with the pre-need. And they would have study groups similar to the one you were in that would come and visit, and became friends with other family-owned firms that would say, Larkin was doing around $3 million, and within 4 or 5 years was closer to $8 to $9 million in pre-need. And people were asking, and we were all happy to give the advice. Spencer and West, myself, we were happy to tell anyone. But soon there was a light bulb moment that said, well, now wait a second, maybe there's a need for what we're doing. There's, of course, other incredible pre-need companies out there, but we have more of a focus on the smaller, private, family-owned firms, and really community-focused. And so that sort of morphed into Envision. And for a while, we were all in both Larkin and Envision. West soon became full-time at Envision. I then became full-time. And then Spencer, a couple years ago, had to make a really difficult decision. You just can't do all of it. And so he also then moved over full-time to Envision. And then I had an opportunity a couple years ago to buy in as a partner. So that's where Envision came from.
What a great success story. Now, how many family firms do you take care of today?
So we work with close to 70 now across the country, from Baltimore to California,
70.
Madison, Milwaukee to Texas, and all over the country.
That's terrific. So do you travel a lot now, Erin?
Yes. It's funny you ask that. Someone asked me that the other day. And, sometimes we feel like we have to soften it. Oh, it's not too bad, or not too much. But the answer is just yes. I have to travel on. During the holidays, it slows down. But my son is now 17, and fortunately, he's in a place that he's doing his thing. My husband is so incredibly supportive. But it's really important to us when we onboard a new funeral home that we're all very hands-on and that we're available. And more than anything, we get to know the firm and their culture and who they are, instead of us trying to fit our program to them. We try to do it the other way around. So I've just made some incredible friends. I'm sure you can relate to this, but just in the profession, the people you meet and the owners, and there's nothing like it, but there's no quick way to do it either. You have to get on a plane or get in the car and make the visits, and I love it.
Yes. We are in the people business. I mean, that really is I think, if you want to use death care as the overall word for where we are in what, kind of place, funeral, cremation, cemetery companies, it's a people business, and you can't do business just by staying at home. It just doesn't work that way. And I've always seen your smiley face at so many different conferences. It's amazing how much you get out there, and I love that. In my earlier years, I did that as well. But as a woman leader, it does have some challenges in this work-life balance thing. And how do you do this? And how did you grow yourself as a leader today? I mean, what do you think some of the keys to that are, Erin? And then we're going to move into Death Care Collective and why it got started. So, how do you grow yourself as a leader? What do you think the real keys to being a great woman leader really is?
Well, I've been very fortunate that, I've had a say in the team that we've grown around us. And you're right, this is a people business. And if you don't love people first, frankly, I don't care how good of a salesperson you are or how good of a recruiter you are, whatever role we're looking to fill, from a sales counselor on up, if you're not a people person, we're not interested. You have to care about the people first, the families first. That always has to be the forefront. But honestly, Lisa, I've surrounded myself with incredible people who want to see the business succeed, but also really love celebrating personal wins and love seeing me succeed. I love seeing them succeed. We're all in this to cheer each other on. And I've just had the most incredible people by my side the entire way. There's no way I would have done it without that. I could spend 3 days talking about all the individual stories of people who have lifted me up when I was down, who've helped me when I felt intimidated or vulnerable, that, stuck out a hand and pulled me up when I needed it. And that's still happening today.
That's wonderful. Well, that's a great segue into the Death Care Collective story, because that's really what this group does. In my research, I really have not ever seen a group like this. And of course, I met DCC on LinkedIn. That's where I first found you. And you and total of 9 women, right?
Yes.
Really started this organization. And I think the last numbers I looked at LinkedIn was like 680 something, close to 700 followers now. Yes. Do you know how many members you actually have? I mean, I'm sure approximately you do, but gosh, that's an incredible growth.
Yes. Thank you.
Since 2022?
Yeah. Yes. Right. It's only been officially less than a year, and last I checked, you probably have checked more recently, but we are at about 650. So it might be even a little higher now.
I think it's up higher. Yeah. 680 something. This is where you go. So you discover in yourself that women are there to support each other. And the more supporters you have, that inner circle, that group of people, both men and women, that are there to lift you up, are some of the keys to becoming a better woman leader, a better leader, period, and a better leader as a woman. So this is what Death Care does. So tell us about its early beginnings, and which wasn't that long ago. And then we'll talk a little bit about what it's up to today.
I would love to. So about 2 years ago, we all think back to the time we don't want to think about. We're in the lockdown and we're in the pandemic, and part of so many of us, just socially, we crave those connections, and especially those organic connections are really lovely. I think about Lisa. I got to meet your daughter at NFDA because she happened to be there with you. I never would have met her otherwise, because unless you have a meeting set with someone, it is really hard to have those organic connections. Okay. So we think back to the pandemic.
Yes, it is.
And I got a message on LinkedIn from Olga Peeler, who had been with SCI most of her career and had recently transitioned to another company. And, we kind of were bouncing around each other's links. I'd see her stuff and thought she was great, and she'd see mine, but we had never interacted otherwise. And she reaches out, which you think of this in and of itself as pretty vulnerable, and says, "Hey, I've seen you on LinkedIn. Would you like to just have a virtual coffee with me?" Which I thought, well, how lovely. And I said, of course, yes. And I didn't know what to expect. You always wonder if there's some other motive, and there wasn't. It was literally that. You seem lovely. And I said, well, you seem lovely. Let's just have coffee. And so we chatted for at least 45 minutes. It was supposed to be 30. And we said, well, why don't we do a virtual happy hour? Perfect. We were both down for that. And then I invited another friend.
I think we all did a lot of that during the pandemic. Yeah.
It's not healthy to drink alone. Would you like to drink with me over Zoom?
You. No, that's right. Coffee or other beverages, right?
So
awesome.
I had another friend I had talked about just doing something with. Her name's Jamie Dravecki, and she's with Homesteaders. She lives outside of Chicago. Olga's in Ohio, mind you. I'm in Utah. And so the three of us then got together and did a little virtual happy hour, and we thought, well, maybe we should do a book club and just invite people that maybe want to just chat about a book. And we thought, well, great. So September of 2021, we launched Great name, I know. The Women in Funeral Service Book Club. It's a little long, but we didn't know what else to call it. So
I remember.
yes.
I remember seeing that.
So we just
Yeah.
started posting. We didn't have a website or a group or anything. We just started posting, the three of us, about this book club. And within a couple months, I think we had over 30 people. And anywhere from 10 to 20 would attend, which, I think about our team meetings. Sometimes it's hard to get that many people on a call. But you could sense people were craving a little bit of this connection. So at ICCFA last spring in May in Vegas, we realized there were going to be a handful of us at ICCFA. Why don't we do a Women in Funeral Service Book Club breakfast? So we met up for breakfast. And I don't remember who said it, or a few of us might have said versions of this, but there was one gal who had just started in the business, all the way up to people who'd been in the profession over 20 years. But we just said, gosh, does it feel like women are craving more connection like this, or is it just those of us sitting at this table today? Which, hindsight, is a silly question, but no one had ever asked that question before. It's, again, kind of a vulnerable question. So we said, well, let's see if maybe this could morph into something more. When we're done here, why don't we send out a survey? So there were 9 of us that were founders, and each of us, just in our personal network, we put together a survey on SurveyMonkey and sent the survey out to 87 women to say, is this something you'd be interested in? We crafted some questions around that. And we had over 50 respondents, which, if you're familiar with surveys, is huge. And Lisa, the response was so overwhelming. So overwhelming. Yes, I'm burned out. I feel alone. I feel scared sometimes. I'm ready to leave the profession. I feel so disconnected. I would love to be part of a group like this. And once we got those back, it was so clear to us that we had to do something. And that's when we started our discussions about the Death Care Collective.
That's really cool. So how did it come to its name, from Women in Funeral Service Book Club to Death Care Collective? Tell us about that name and what that means.
Yes. So we recognized that really the ultimate goal of the Death Care Collective is to make the profession better. Not just for women, but we recognize that by empowering, inspiring, connecting, and lifting up women within the profession, it will make the entire profession better. And we are not anti-men, right? It's like the Little Rascals, the girl, women only man haters club. We are not that. All of us work with incredible
men. That's right. You can't do that.
No. And so, we don't exclude men. There are conversations we have that are just women because we want it to feel confidential and safe. But we have had men that are supporters and advocates and sponsors of the Death Care Collective. So we decided early we didn't want the word women in it because we didn't want it to feel excluding men. And then it's that age old is, funeral, cremation, there's green burial, there's everything in between. So we thought death care.
I know. So what do you call ourselves, right?
Right. And that was where we came up with Death Care. Then we went back and forth on a few different options. And the Death Care Collective just sounded like it made the most sense. The other piece that's worth mentioning, we are the only group like this that is not owned by or controlled by any company, organization, or corporation. The 9 of us have bootstrapped this together. We didn't ask anyone for permission, and there is not anyone, pulling the strings with any ulterior motive behind the scenes, which I think has helped people feel safe.
I just totally admire everything you've done, and I think that's so critical. And you support the other women's, groups and organizations. I know you attend quite a few. You come to Professional Women's Conference that NFDA sponsors. I know there's a number of them out there going on, and every time I turn around, there's a DCC member there, which is awesome because you're getting out there, and then there's more and more. This is really an online support group for women and men who want to learn more about working better and well with women. So let's go to your mission, purpose, and core values, because I think it's awesome that you have them, for starters, because I think most organizations get started with a vision and then maybe don't go this far with what they've done. So your mission is to foster connections, strengthen relationships, and empower women in the death care profession. Concise, clear, short, easy to remember. Love it. I love it. And then your purpose is a 4-pronged approach. So you have support, challenge achievements, develop, training, mentoring, and sponsoring, empower, provide equal opportunities, a seat at the table, build diverse network of professionals. So that pretty much covers it all. And then your core values, which I think critical, just critical, along with your rules of engagement: integrity, trust, respect, servant leadership, leading by example, humility, vulnerability, inclusion, and confidentiality. A safe place to be if you're a woman in this profession. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you work for the corporates. It doesn't matter if you're an independent. It doesn't matter if you're in pre-planning or you're in cremation or embalming or green burial. You can belong to this group if you are interested in supporting, empowering, and uplifting women, right? In our profession. I think this is just incredible. Right. So now you still doing book club a little bit, right? Once a quarter? You read a book together about that?
We have a virtual discussion every month, but we've shifted the book club to quarterly, correct?
Right. And so what book are you reading now? There's a book review meeting coming up.
Yeah, it is next week, and it is Failing Forward by John Maxwell.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
We've all had failures. All. So has Death Care Collective had any failures at all? I mean, I can't see a failure in here. Except maybe,
yes.
What? How did you fail? How did you fail forward, DCC?
So we actually had a great discussion yesterday. We have a weekly check-in with the 9 of us, and we had a really good check-in on what's working and what's not working, because here's the thing to remember. We all have very full-time jobs and lives and families. This is not our full-time job. There's no money. We're not getting, this is not what we get paid to do, but our hearts are 100% in it. And so we had a really good discussion yesterday just about, again, not failures, but as we're growing, we're going to have to shift. When we first started, we had 3 committees that seemed to manage everything pretty well, but now we're finding a little bit it's getting pulled in more in one direction or the other. And so making sure all the women feel supported and maybe shifting to help. Social media, for example, is a big committee now. A lot of the weight and the burden is on their shoulders. And we've realized that maybe social media should be on all of us to help with, and assigning one point person. So that's an example of something we've seen that we can correct a little bit. And, just making everyone feel safe. Something we saw early on too was we needed to be better about clarifying what it means to be a member of the Death Care Collective, because generally you think of membership, you think of money or something you have to give to be a member. And so we want to make it very clear that it does not cost anything to be a member. And we've worked hard on the messaging there so that people, I think early on, I'm not a member, I haven't paid anything or filled out anything. It's just, if you're following us, if you're supporting us, if you join our discussions, you are a member of this collective group of women in death care.
Right. And you can learn this by going onto you have a small website, deathcarecollective.com, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yes. And that's,
yes.
we have
so
that.
You can go on there and learn more about it. And I think you can fill out a form. You can fill out a little form there, and then somebody will get in touch with you and they'll help you join and learn more about it. And it's free.
Yes.
It's free.
It's free.
It's there for all of us. I think that's so cool. So I love the book. John Maxwell's one of my early teachers. From his 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And, Failing Forward was one of his best, along with Leadership Gold. But Failing Forward, we learn so much from our failures. We just do. And I think that's where we need to pay attention to those life lessons. So what's next for DCC? I think there's some things in the mentoring area coming up. I've been aware of that and helping support that a little bit just with some ideas and so forth. So tell us about that.
Yes, we are really excited. So Shannon Bischoff, as you know, is spearheading that program. Mentorship since the beginning has been on the horizon for the Death Care Collective and something that we recognize is needed in this space. On the other side, we take it very seriously. We never take lightly if someone is putting their life and their career and their heart in your hands as a mentor. We want to make sure we're prepared for that and that we're equipped for that. So we are starting the process, and my guess is by the third or fourth quarter of this year, we will be able to announce what that will look like. And we will be sending out a survey soon. So we'll be posting that on our social media channels, and would love for everyone to please fill out the survey so it can better guide us as to what our mentorship program will look like.
Terrific. So if you want to be part of that survey, be sure you get signed up, and they have your email address for sure, and a way to connect with you. And I have a feeling the survey will probably pop up on some of the social media places where you can fill it out. I love that. So mentoring. So if you are in need of mentoring, this is the place to be. This is a place to go. There's a lot of groups out there. In fact, I'm going to NFDA's Meet the Mentors this next weekend in Georgia and in Atlanta and Emory University. And so we'll be there with that group that is Meet the Mentors. But this is more, mentoring is more, I think the program, my understanding, is headed towards perhaps like something you would do with someone that you would choose. So you'd help match us up with someone who can mentor us in an area we need mentoring in. So say it's leadership, say you want some mentoring in how to be more proficient in the pre-need side of the business, or the at-need, or the embalming side, or the cremation side, or green burial side. I mean, you choose, where do you need more mentoring in? And you want to become a better manager of people, then you will help match us up to people who have that experience that are volunteering their time to mentor.
That's it.
So I think that's kind of sounds like where it's headed after talking through this. And I'm super excited. Nobody's doing this out there. And I think it's just a wonderful thing for Death Care Collective to tackle. So if you want to volunteer and you want to be a mentor, or you're interested in being mentored, get in touch, right? So how would people get in touch with you, Erin, and in touch with Death Care Collective?
Yes.
Give us some contact information so our listeners can move forward.
So you can always email me directly. I think some people, we take the confidentiality very seriously. So if you'd rather not comment on a LinkedIn post or something, you can always email me. And my email is just Erin, ERIN, at envisioncares.com. So ENVISIONCARES.com. You can email me that you're interested, or any of the founding members, or you can go on LinkedIn, and on the Death Care Collective page, you can message the Death Care Collective privately that you're interested. We also have a Facebook group that you can request to be invited to. We also have Instagram and TikTok, thanks to our lovely social media team. But LinkedIn seems to be where most people are connecting. Awesome. And again, I just want to reinforce what you said. If once you sign up as a member, we won't ask you for money. We don't share that information with anyone. All you'll receive is invitation. You'll see a welcome, of course, but invitations to our virtual events. And as you mentioned, we are all about supporting all women, all the groups, and want to be everywhere that we can. So we will be at NFDA's Professional Women's Conference coming up in May in San Antonio. We're also going to be involved with ICCFA's Fall Leadership Conference, and then all the conventions in between. For the most part, someone from the Death Care Collective will be there. So if someone's planning to attend maybe the Southern Convention or Washington State, and they're part of the Death Care Collective, and maybe they don't know that many people, or they're a little more introverted and they'd like to just have a friend that they can have a cup of coffee with, we'd love to know that they're going to be there so we can connect with them and help support them. So email us or message us on any of our social media channels.
I think that's great. I get right. And you guys did this at NFTA last year. I think you got together at CANA, Cremation Association of North America.
Yes.
We have ICCFA this coming May, and Kansas City, Missouri, by the way, for all my Missouri friends out there. I bet there's going to be a coffee or something. So the only thing I require and ask is that next year at NFTA, let's get our schedules together before you plan the coffee, because I missed it because I serve on the Funeral Service Foundation board, and we had a meeting that day. I was like, darn it, I can't make the coffee. Okay. And I was really looking forward to seeing y'all.
Deal. We will let you know.
I saw you anyway, but
Yes.
Great. Oh, so I'm so excited to hear more about what Death Care Collective is doing. And I know we'll get you back on here again. And again, I just want to thank you so much for your time today, Erin. This is wonderful to get to know you better, learn more about Death Care Collective and Envision Strategic Partners. And I want to wish everyone a wonderful Women in History month. I think Death Care Collective is definitely making history in funeral service, death care, cemetery service, cremation service, green burial service, and all of the above or anything we haven't mentioned that's coming up next. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Lisa. It's been a privilege.
We hope you enjoyed today's Your Funeral Coach podcast and will join Lisa Baue and her guests again soon. Let us know if there are any topics you would like to hear more about. For more information on future shows, please go to yourfuneralcoach.com. If you enjoyed the show, consider giving us a 5-star review. Thank you.